Reading nooks, Vegas weddings, and British comfort while abroad are all discussed this week, and also stay tuned for next week where the conversation with Paul continues, where we discuss his journey to find his Irish heritage, and also we talk about a book that I can guarantee none of you have ever heard of. So stay tuned for that and more in Genuine Chit-Chat. Hello my friends and welcome to another episode of Genuine Chit-Chat, the show where I have tangent-filled conversations with different guests each week to talk about their passions and what excites them, all in my personal quest to find the most interesting conversation possible. And this week's passionate person is none other than Paul, also known as Super Dummy Paul, occasionally when he feels like it. Hello there, good sir. You've been involved with many a podcast and you're just on a little break at the moment, so I thought I'd grab you by the reins and pull you back in so we could have a nice little chat and a catch up, because that's what we're doing for the last hour. It's just chatting. I was like, I should probably press record at some point just so we can actually have a podcast out. So because people have been missing you, and I know that I have too in my audio feeds. So whenever you're ready, no pressure, but it'd be lovely to hear from you again.
Very nice.
When the world allows.
I like that you described it as a little break, however many years it's been.
I mean, to be fair with everyone, aside from me, Dan, Chris and Dave, I think are the only ones who've never had a break. Well, actually, I suppose Dan has, actually. Tell a lie. Dan, last year or the year before, he needed a break as well.
Yes, that's true.
Which is completely fine. You know, I think it shows real strength in anyone, in comics, emotional or otherwise, to go, you know what? This is a passion project for me, but I need to take a step away due to any reason of any kind, just to have a breather, just to recharge due to family issues, whatever. And I fully support that. And I think it's so incredible that people are open about those kind of things. And, you know, Tony, because he's really busy, and Jack and lots of people have all had hiatuses for a variety of reasons. It's just myself, Dave and Chris are just all mad because I've not, aside from the Christmas break I give myself, and then I had a break, obviously, when I went and got married. But
how dare you?
I know. But even then, I had a month in Vegas and I loaded up episodes. So I think there was only 1 or 2 weeks where there was nothing coming out for me. And then when I got back, Meg and I recorded 5 episodes. Well, when we were away, we did 5 episodes, mainly in our little trailer cabin in Yosemite, where we'd go hiking in the day and then come back, have some food, record a little pod about the day, and then after Disney we did it a few times as well.
So you didn't really have a break, is what you're saying?
Well, the thing is, as you're fully aware, because you also with Geek, you had an interview style podcast, is that the conversations you have when podcasting, they're the best bit. Yeah. They're the bit that you're like, I love podcasting. It's so good. I mean, I just get to have conversations with cool people. They either challenge me or they're like-minded. That's great fun. And then when you have to make your own podcast, and it's like, oh, I have to email people and try and organise guests, and I have to make sure that I'm ready at this time. And if people bail at the last minute, I have to be okay with that because life gets in the way sometimes. But it can also screw up my schedule. Also, I have to write notes, and I have to host. Then I have to edit it afterwards. Then I have to upload it. And then the worst of all of that, they're still not done. I then have to post on social media, because if I don't, the small group of people who are already invested in what I'm putting out, they're the only people going to hear it. Yes. And so I'm always on that struggle, but I will not stop ever. No, I've managed to keep myself going enough. There's been the odd week where I've really struggled, and a lot of the time in that, because I have Patreon, I just cheat. And so I just go, well, I've released an extra thing on Patreon, and then I pull something random from the Patreon archives and put it in the normie feed, as I call it. The normie feed. No disrespect to any of you lovely supporters. I appreciate you all, but the Patreon supporters are extra special for me. But yeah, that's what I've been. I understand fully of why people don't do it a lot, especially because if you're not already famous, it's borderline impossible to make money out of it.
Yeah. If you're not already famous, then you may as well just say to yourself, you're going to do this because it's fun, because you enjoy it, or because it gives you something to do, you know, one evening a week, and then have no other expectations. Because if you have any other expectations, you'll be bitterly disappointed, let me tell you.
Well, I think all of us have the desire. We're like, oh man, yeah, I love this, and everyone who listens really enjoys it. Wouldn't this be great if I made money on this? And then, I mean, I've had a loyal patron group of supporters for a long time, and they're an absolute godsend. But the money they give me, that solely covers really the costs of podcasting. And I upgraded my camera, and my laptop died a couple of years back, and I used the money for that. So it's like, but Zoom costs money. Microsoft Office, which I use to A, write notes, but B, my cloud storage, that costs money. So I really
because you can't just buy things anymore.
Yeah.
You have to subscribe.
Exactly. And then it's like, well, to subscribe, it costs me money every single month. I can't just do a one-off payment. Or if you do, the one-off payment is so astronomical. You're like, I can't afford that. Because if I could afford that, I would have just bought it from somewhere else, which does it cheaper. Yeah. It's one of those, I say podcasting is a passion, but especially post-COVID, I know we're like 5 years on from that, almost to the day, but almost the day where it started, I should say, not where it ended, because it's still going. But because every celebrity didn't know what to do with themselves, so many of them started podcasting COVID, and they were like, this is actually quite easy, because obviously they don't have to edit, they don't have to do the artwork, they don't have to do the show notes, they just get to do all the fun stuff, and because they know everyone famous, they have all the best guests.
Yep.
So it makes being an interview-style podcast borderline impossible to break into the mainstream, because you don't get as good guests as the celebrities, and the celebrities don't have to put anywhere near as much work in, and they immediately get a sponsor deal, because it's like, oh, David Tennant's starting a podcast. Well, obviously someone's going to sponsor him immediately, and then they use the sponsor money for an editor, and then he doesn't have to spend 4 hours after every 1 hour podcast faffing about with stuff behind the scenes. I'm not bitter. Shut up.
No, you don't want Emma Mattress to come along and sponsor you, or whatever the current one that everyone is sponsored by. HelloFresh seems to be coming along a lot lately.
That went for a bit and then it came back.
Yeah.
And it's funny watching YouTubers as well, when you get into like a new YouTuber and when their content isn't timestamp. So when they just review random movies, or they just talk about stuff, and you can go back and listen to old episodes, and then you see I remember when everyone was talking about, as you said, the mattress or MeUndies, or 3 years ago when HelloFresh was a thing, and then it went away for a bit, and now it's come back.
Yeah.
What a good opportunity to ask you, what are you listening to though? What are you doing in your free time? What are you up to, really?
Free time. I've sent you the picture of the number of podcasts that I'm subscribed to previously.
Oh yes, I remember the library. You had to scroll to be able to see all of them.
Yeah, so I've had to change it now to smaller icons, just so I can actually see. I'm going to do just a quick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh no, I still have to scroll now, even with the smaller icons. 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 8 by 11, 88 plus another. So yeah, over 90 podcasts I'm subscribed to, which is a bit too many. In my defense, some of them have stopped and I just haven't unsubscribed because, sometimes they come back to life in something different. And I think, oh, that'll be fun. Give that a go. Too many is the answer to that, is what I'm listening to. But, with my job, with my old job, I had a good 4 hours every day when I was pounding the streets, walking around like a little weirdo. And I had time to listen to 3-4 hours of podcasts every single day, so I could keep up with it, which you notice when you suddenly have a week off and then your to-do is like 40 long. You're like, oh, I am never going to catch up on this.
That's what I find. I think back before everyone had a podcast, and I think Chris, Dave, myself, and Spider Dan, we were at the precipice. We did it about a year before absolutely everyone did it, and I'm kicking myself for not doing it 3 years earlier, because if people did it 3 years earlier, which now is 10 years ago, they're in the kind of collection of the OGs, and if you're still going after 10 years at that time, you may not be proper big, but you will have got enough of an audience because you got in there so early and kept going consistently. But where we were building ourselves and finding out who we were and what we wanted to be. And by the time we found that, everyone has got a podcast and we kind of got drowned in saturation. But I found that like back when that was happening, I remember back when I used to listen to Rogan, which I haven't for a long time, he was saying, everyone should start a podcast, all comedians, everything. And then I remember only a few years ago, again, I haven't listened to him in 2 years, I don't think. So he said a while ago, he was like, yeah, I kind of regret telling everyone to start a podcast because back then there weren't that many, so you could actually listen to them. And he's like, now, like, you can't. And that was even then. Now it's even more. And you're like, realistically, if you have an hour or two of listening a day, which is probably the average people have, generally commuting, maybe some chores, and that doesn't include the weekend, you've got maybe 10 hours of audio listening, maybe a bit more. Well, if you like 5 podcasts and they do an hour, if not a bit more, you've only got a few hours left. If you like 10 podcasts, That's it. And if you listen to music avidly or audiobooks, then like, do you listen to audiobooks at all? I have interest.
I have been trying to, but again, it's in that cycle of if I listen to an audiobook, like have you heard of the book The Power Broker?
I think I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it.
It's Robert Moses, who was basically the guy who made New York what it is. In fact, I'll make sure I get that the right way around, because it's about Robert Moses, written by Robert Caro, I think is the right way round, but I quite often get them the wrong way round. Yeah, so it's by Robert Caro about Robert Moses, and he basically made New York what it was by essentially demolishing half of it and putting roads through everything. But I got the audiobook of that, and it is about 40 hours long.
Jesus Christ.
So on one hand, I'm looking at that and thinking, one Audible credit, that's great value. But on the other hand, it is 40 hours long. And if I listen to 40 hours of audiobook, I then have 40 hours of podcasts that are just slowly building up on the backlog of the normal stuff that comes out. So yeah, I try to. I've listened to some good ones actually, but it is another hit and miss thing, and I think this is the problem. I have put my fingers in too many holes.
I think you say pies, that would have made it not weird, but then you made it weird by saying holes.
Yeah, the metaphor ran away with me there. I couldn't remember what the actual saying was, and I said the wrong thing. And yeah, so there we are.
Now that's on the internet forever, because I'm not cutting that out. That's too good. That's going to be the soundbite. I'm going to make it go viral. If I had that power of making things go viral, wouldn't that be a dream?
Yes.
It's funny because I've got quite a few audiobooks in my wish list, and because I'm generally listening to non-Star Wars book, kind of go back and forth. And any YouTube listeners or watchers will be able to see in the background of me, these 3 lovely books are the 3 favourite books I read from last year to this year that are non-Star Warsy, and all my favourite Star Wars books are everywhere else. So
coming soon, Max
exactly.
Book Club.
Well, I mean, I did sort of launch the Comics in Motion book club, but then the problem is trying to organise everyone to be able to read on time and blah. And then I was like, we should try and do Sandman and then Neil Gaiman stuff. And it's like, we can't really touch that again. And I don't really want to. It's tainted it quite a lot. But you mentioned about the audiobooks is because friends of mine have gotten back into reading recently. And our favourite thing to do is to go to charity shops, thrift stores for Americans, and I've got a list of books of either ones I've read and I liked, and I'd like to see if they've got different versions, different covers of them for like £1 or £2, why not? Or if someone has recommended me a book, what I'll do is I'll kind of vaguely look around for it in a charity shop, and if I find it, I'll add it to my list, and then I generally like to listen to an audiobook and be reading the physical book at the same time. I used to do reading and listen to an audiobook separately, but what I found is that I don't really give myself enough time to purely read a book anymore. It takes me like 6 months to read a physical book. Right. So I'm like, okay, I'll listen to an audiobook, and then in my free time, when I'm really into the audiobook, I'll then read the physical book, in a sense, if I'm super into it. But a friend of mine recommended... Well, yeah, I know.
That would send me even more mad than I am.
Well, I had to do it with Invisible Man, because Invisible Man is like the best book I've ever read, but so much of it is so clever. But when you're hearing... Because it's all... I prefer third person stuff because I just find it so much easier to understand. When they're saying a lot of I did this, I did that, I don't always connect with it as well. And in Invisible Man, he is recounting a story, but he also says monologues, but he also occasionally will just imagine things, and he'll just be like, and if you miss him saying the words I imagine, then everything he's saying, you're just like, what is going on?
Yes.
So, and I found that especially the first chapter or 2 of Invisible Man, it's a phenomenal book. Again, best thing I've ever read. But the first chapter, I was like, I don't know what the fuck is happening. I don't understand. And then I found it in a charity shop. That one I bought from Waterstones because I like the cover. But I got one from a charity shop, and then I reread the prologue or chapter 1 or whatever it is. And I was like, oh, okay. This makes far more sense. Right. But there's other points I was reading it, and some of it's written phonetically, and it's from the perspective of a black man in America in the 1940s and 50s. And so some of it is written phonetically like a Southern black man saying something who is intentionally described as like a hick in air quotes, you know? So you're trying to, if you're reading that, you're like, I don't know what the inflections are meant to be. But when you hear the narrator, Joe Compton, I think it is, his voice work is phenomenal. So when you're hearing him read dialogue of certain characters, you're like, I get that. So I was kind of flitting between, depending on how much I was kind of processing the book. But you're saying I'm mad for that. So do you read physical books then, or are you just audio now?
These days I'm more audio for sure. Yeah, I think what you're saying makes sense, but I think it would confuse my brain. It's like that thing where, like, if there's a film based on a book and you watch the film and then read the book.
Yeah.
Everything that you're picturing and the voices in your head are what you've seen. And so it's a little bit of the uncanny valley thing where it's like, it's quite right, but it's not quite right. And I think my brain would just hit the eject button. I'm too confused about my life right now. But I do understand what you're saying. There are some things which lend themselves to be written down. There are some things that lend themselves to be read out loud. So it does make sense, but also no. It's basically what I'm saying.
Well, the reason I mentioned it is because my friends who recommend me charity shop stuff, they are reading like classics. So some Steinbeck and things like that. And one of my friends, she's reading, or she's almost finished it now, but it's Gone with the Wind, which is a book I've heard of because it's turned into a film, by Margaret Mitchell, and it's held as one of the best books ever written. The audiobook, 47 hours and 11 minutes. That is, if you sit down and you don't sleep and you give yourself time to go to the toilet, you'll be sat there for 2 days straight. Yeah. And the book's like 900 and something pages, and I'm like I want to read the book, but do I really want to? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's
the thing. It's a long time to listen to something, but you have the benefit that you can do other things whilst you're listening to that. Like, you can't do the washing up and read a book. Now, I'm sure people out there have said, I've done it. Well, I'm sure you have, but I'm sure there are times you've also regretted it as well.
Yep, with a Kindle or something, it can fall in the water, you get that wet, and if you get your book wet, you can't unwet it.
Yeah, exactly. Advice for life there, you can't unwet it. There are definitely places for audiobooks, and I think ridiculously long books are kind of there. Like, the image in my head, it's absolutely wonderful. Like, we have a corner of the house which is set up as like the reading nook because it's nice, comfy little. Never has it ever happened. Like, maybe for like an hour in total, but to sit there for 40 hours, assuming you read it as though the narrator did, with no mistakes, with no, hang on, I didn't quite get that, I'm going to have to read that bit again, which is not the case. It's never going to happen. So if you're actually reading a book, it's going to be probably an extra 10% on top. So 45 to 50 hours, you're going to be sat in that spot reading a book, which is 45 to 50 hours. You can't do anything else, which in theory is lovely. However, we live in the real modern world. When was the last time you were able to do anything for 50 hours?
I think even when I had to, Megan and I had to spend, the slightly less than the average UK wedding is in the UK, okay? And the average UK wedding is in the early 20 grands, okay? Yeah. So Megan and I spent less than that, but a bit less, but not a huge amount less than that, for us to both go to America for an entire month, including flights and everything, okay? And that took us years to save, okay? And we wiped our savings to do it. And in that time, we had like little pockets here and there to have a little bit of time to not do much. And I know, we didn't spend all that money just to do nothing. But when we were in Yosemite and we had that time to kind of breathe and not do anything, it was lovely. It was such a relief. But in your normal life, it's not reasonable. If I took a day off work, and I've done it before, I go, I'm going to take a day off work. I'm just going for me. What ends up happening is I get up, take the dog out for a proper walk, because I'm like, well, I don't need to take her for a short walk, because normally it would be a short walk in the morning, short walk in the afternoon. I'm like, well, I don't need to take her for a short walk, because I don't have to rush back to work, So I'll take her for a longer walk. And then I get back, and then I'm like, well, actually, I might as well just do the washing up, because I'm here. So then I do that, and I go, you know what, no, I want to sit down and read. So then I sit down, I spend an extra 5 minutes getting comfy, so I'm specific. Oh, wait, no, I forgot my water. Oh, actually, I'm kind of a bit peckish. Blah, blah, blah. And then you sit down, and then you read for half an hour, 40 minutes. Actually, I'm quite hungry. Well, I've got the time. I'll cook dinner, cook breakfast, whatever, breakfast, lunch, whatever. And then you find that when you had, say, 4 hours in your head of, I could read for 4 hours, it's really about an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, and like Tony does it well, because him and Lee, I think almost every night they have like an hour where they both just sit down and read next to each other on the sofa. And I'm like, that sounds like a dream. But he has said overtly, and this is his words, not me. Okay. He's like, that's because we're not sociable. We don't do anything. We don't have a social life. That's how we can. We're seen as recluses and hermits because we don't have a social life, because we've got our family who we see occasionally, and we've got us and the books, and that's it. And it's one of those, it sounds lovely being able to just sit in the nook and read. But I find with reading as well, you really have to, I think with you and I and a lot of people, you get people like Tony who live and breathe reading and writing. Mm-hmm. And you get people like us who want to live and breathe reading and writing, but we don't. We want to. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
It's like there are people out there like Tony, Faye from the Fantastic Universes world. They read a lot. Like Faye, if you include books she's read, audiobooks and stuff, she basically does almost, the average is a book a day or a book every other day, which is amazing. Like there are people in this world that would be listening to me moaning about sitting and reading a book for 50 hours and say, yeah, I do that all the time. I get it, but it does basically have to be your hobby. And that's kind of the difference. It's you have to dedicate yourself to actually saying this is something I need to do. And you do have to sort of carve out time for it. Like you have to do with any decent hobby. You have to carve out time and say, right, this is what I'm doing now. And you almost treat it like going to work. It's in my schedule. I'm going to go do this now. Because if you don't, then like you say, like life just takes over. I'm off work this week and I've, saying to myself, I'll spend some time to myself. I'll do bits and pieces and, but pretty much every single day, we're on Wednesday now, every single day I've been doing chores. I've been going to the shops. I've been gone to the dump, all the things that I've been putting off for the last 6 months. And just because it's like, I have to, I don't have to, but my brain's telling me I have to.
It's like time efficiency, isn't it? That's the thing. I think when you're in your early 20s, I see it I'm in quite a few Star Wars podcast groups. And when I see someone go, I've read this book for the third time, I go, you are either a teenager or early 20s, and you almost certainly live at home, okay? Yeah. Or you're single. And there's no slight on these people, okay?
No.
I can't read the books I want to read while barely keeping up with pop culture, as in what people are watching. I can just about watch most of the Marvel shows, all the Star Wars stuff, a bit that Megan wants to watch, which is mainly RuPaul's Drag Race and Bake Off. And outside of that, it's a struggle to find time while also we want to be healthy. We want to eat properly. Obviously, you've got a dog. Sometimes we want to socialise. Other times it's we haven't seen this person or this family member in a long time, so we kind of have to see them because we haven't seen them in 3 months. So then you see them, and it becomes this thing where you're like, I can understand where people can feel trapped at times. I think one does have to carve out their own way. But I'm like you. As soon as I get time off, I'm like, this is the perfect opportunity to do that really shit job I didn't want to do. Mm. And because it's like there's no other time I'm going to do this. And I can read the book anytime. I'm not going to, but I can, theoretically.
That book is going to stay sitting there and it's going to keep looking at me. And one day I will read it. But in the meantime, that over there has been pissing me off for the last 2 months. So I'm going to go do that.
And going to the tip is a big one. Our shed, we really need to empty our shed. And I think everyone in Britain has moments in their life where they're like, I need to go through the shed. I think it's probably once every, I think you do it and then you probably have a 5-ish year grace period. And then you get another time where you're like, I need to empty the shed, and then you put it off for another 1 to 5 years, and then you do it, and then you get another grace period. Well, this is the first time we've owned a shed. So, obviously my parents owned sheds, but that wasn't my responsibility. So like it's the first time owning a shed. And when we moved in, we just dumped everything in there.
Yeah.
And now we're running out of space. We need to dump other stuff. And we're looking in the shed going, well, that needs to go to the dump. And that isn't, dump stuff's almost easier. The worst thing is when it's something of value, because we've got like a door that we took off in the house, and it's a solid, good door. It's worth, we'd probably be able to sell it for 50 or 100 quid. Yeah. We've got rolls of carpet, just excess carpet, rolls of excess vinyl flooring. And we can't just chuck that, because if we put it on Facebook Marketplace or something, we will get a decent-ish amount of money. Yeah. But the effort to do that is work. And after work, I don't want to do more work. I want to relax, but I have to do some work because I have to clean dishes or cook dinner or sort the dog out or something. I have to do a bare minimum of chores to just be able to live not in like a hoarder home.
Yes.
And that's the background noise we're not warned of, I think.
No one prepares you for that. No one prepares you for the fact that when you're an adult, you're going to have a pile of stuff for the dump, a pile of stuff for the charity shop, a pile of stuff for Facebook Marketplace or wherever the hell you think you might be able to sell it. Because maybe Facebook Marketplace, but also, you might get more somewhere else. You don't know where that somewhere else is, but there is a fictional somewhere else that you can go. And it is almost a full-time job just to keep on top of your life sometimes. And that's before you talk about doing all the stupid stuff that you're supposed to do, like cleaning, hoovering, washing up.
Hoovering's the bane. It's such a thankless job because at least washing up sucks ass. But when I wash up, I can chuck on an audiobook, and Megan does most of the cooking, so I say I do most of the washing up. And we do now have a dishwasher again. It broke for like a year, and we just could barely afford it because it was going away from America. That's where our money was going. And then we got back from America. We're like, we can't afford it. We have to wait. Don't know how much it's going to cost to repair or replace. We did it, and it's great. Slimline one, but obviously you can't put everything in there. You can just put a decent amount of stuff in there. But a lot of things you have to give a pre-wash or wipe stuff down or whatever. And so I do most of the washing up. And I go, most nights, I'll spend 20 minutes, half hour washing up. I use that time to listen to an audiobook. But when I do the hoovering, I can't. Because it's so loud, and the dog gets freaked out by it as well. But also, I don't really like wearing headphones in around the house as much, just in case, especially with the dog. So I was like, if something happened to her and she's yelling out for me and I can't hear her because I'm listening to an audiobook on full volume while the hoover's going, or if something else is happening, like the hoover catches on something and I can't hear it or whatever. So for me personally, I have to hoover with nothing, because you can't even play music on a speaker or something because you literally can't hear it. Yeah. So you're doing hoovering and you're like, God, I spent ages hoovering. Hoovering the stairs is the most thankless job on the planet. Yes. And I got carpeted stairs and I got a dog, so her hair gets everywhere. And genuinely, I hoovered everything like last week. And for that week, I was like, everything looks amazing. And then it just goes exactly the way it was. But the problem is, it gets to a point where it plateaus, where it looks terrible, but it can't really get much worse for like a month. And so you're just like, can I really be bothered to do this every week? I can't.
You're in
like
that middle bit where it's dirty, but not total squalor.
That's the sweet spot. But speaking of life and that kind of jazz, you surprised me because when you came to our wedding party,
it wasn't me.
You shat in the cake, and I know it was you. This is getting you out. I knew it was you. You cut out a square and you pooped in there, and then put the cake back on there, and then Granny got some, and then it was a shock. I don't have a grandma, so no Granny. No, I couldn't. I was going to say, and it killed her or something, but I was like, no, that's not even. That was a low joke, but no, you surprised me because when I was talking about Vegas wedding, and your Tonya gave me a bit of advice, Chris gave me advice, did a podcast on it, and then you said you actually did one. Did one. You had one. You had a Vegas wedding. Did one.
We did that there thing.
Yeah. So I wonder if you could, as much or as little detail as you want to give, because it's quite a personal thing. Why did you do that instead of a conventional wedding? Did you have fun, and would you recommend it?
Yes, to the last one for sure. Partly just because of what you said. If you have a wedding here, you're looking at 20 grand. You could spend 20 grand having a wedding in Vegas and having a holiday and doing lots of fun things while you're there. You spend the same amount of money maybe, but you are going to have a lot more of an experience. We took 6 or 7 people with us in the end. So we flew out, we paid for our flights, we paid for the wedding, we paid for buffet afterwards, we paid for drinks, we paid for people to do various excursions, we took people to the Grand Canyon, and we spent less than someone who was having their wedding here at the same time we probably spent about 2/3 of what they did. So absolutely worth it just for that reason. And why did we do it? Basically because weddings are a pain in the arse because of the whole politics of weddings. It wasn't just because of that. Like, there was some family members who weren't well, so it was almost like, if we go abroad, we can tell ourselves they're not there because we're abroad and not because they're ill. So it was a bit of a mental break there, just to make ourselves feel a bit more sane about the whole experience. But also, there were some people that you knew you would need to invite if it was here.
There's always uncles and aunties that you never talk to that always cause drama. But if you don't invite them, it's much worse. And then a certain family member, usually one of your mum, like one of the parents, goes, you have to invite Uncle so-and-so. Yeah, exactly. Like, but I don't like them. But if you're inviting this person, you've got to invite him. Yeah. It's like, but I don't like him. He's a pain in the ass and he causes loads of drama. And I haven't spoken to him in 5 years. Yeah, but if you don't, then this person will be mad at you. And it's like, it's meant to be my bloody day.
Yes. He gets drunk and he shits in the cake.
Yeah, Uncle Paul.
Exactly. Yeah. So, that was sort of mainly the reason. We've both been to Vegas a few times before, so we both enjoyed it. We know we liked it out there. We know it was easy. So easy. It was a great experience. So we got married in one of the casinos, in the Excalibur, because, British. And we went on holiday there the year before, and we walked in. We said to the lady that this is what we want to do. She took our email addresses. We gave them a rough date. We emailed them a few months later, confirmed it, sent them some money, told them what songs we wanted. That was it. And then we just turned up. They did a couple of little bits of admin there and then and checked a few things with us. And it was smooth process. They've obviously do it a million times throughout the year. They know exactly what they're doing, and you just have to walk in and they sort it all out themselves. And it was amazing. It was so easy. There's so little stress compared to the ridiculous stress levels of having any sort of normal wedding. It's highly recommended. And, you get the bonus of, if you walk around the bars with someone in a wedding dress, you get free drinks.
Oh, everyone goes nuts. Or even if you just mention, if you just say we got married and you are being genuine, or you're wearing the rings, or you got a photo, you get in Vegas. In America as a whole, people go nuts for weddings.
Oh yeah.
But like in Vegas, people like, they want to throw money at you almost. Like, please take my child. It's like, no, I'm okay, thanks. But it is, as you say, like in Vegas, they love weddings. I think it's the wedding capital of the world.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, it must cost a lot. No, it's like $100 if that. And you're like, what? For what part? No, for everything. For literally to go to the office, to get 3 copies of the certificate, do the vow. I don't even think it's 100. I think it's slightly less than that. I think it's like $60 or something. And you're like, with some admin fees or whatever. And you're like, you do that. Over here to just get a registrar, I think it's about £300 in itself.
Yeah.
And you're just like, and I spoke with Jess of Femon yesterday. I think her episode, I'm going to release it next week. I think this one's going to come out this Sunday. It's my birthday this Sunday, so I may cop out and do a Patreon episode. Thank you. I might cop out and do a Patreon thing, but I haven't decided that yet. But the reason I mention it is because she asked me about Vegas wedding and things, and asked how it was, because she's been with her partner for a while and is just thinking about ideas and stuff, and we posted about it, just want to know a bit more information. So 2 podcasts in a row, people are going to hear about me talking about the Vegas wedding, funnily enough. I didn't orchestrate this specifically for that, but and I'm saying the same thing I'm saying in this other podcast coming out. I don't want to insult anyone, but the age I'm at, I'm 31 in a few days, and a lot of our friends are having kids and getting married, which is all good. People do what they want. However, Meg and I have been to, I think, about 5 or 6 weddings in the last couple years, or maybe since we've been together. I mean, when we were first together, she went to my mum's wedding to my stepdad. She's been to my cousin's wedding, my cousin and her wife. Megan's been to quite a few same-sex weddings. We went to another one like a week or two ago, actually. Love them. Love a gay wedding. Good fun. But we've been to quite a few weddings of people our general age. And apart from the venue, which tweaks slightly, even though normally it's just like an old manor house or something, they've all been really fun. We've enjoyed all of them, but they've all basically been the same. And that's not a problem, because I'm like, if it's going to be the same as everyone else, why would I want to spend so much money that I don't have? I might as well do a wedding everyone else is having in Vegas, but only have the ceremony like half an hour to an hour. Have like, maybe, when we were there, as you say, it's so simple. We spent like, I think, 2, maybe 3 evenings organizing the wedding-y stuff for the whole wedding in Vegas, which was literally just looking through chapels and places like that. And really it was the food, because we did what you kind of did. We didn't pay for people to come over, but we said, if you come over, we've got some excursions and stuff. We went to the Grand Canyon. We took a car, a big car. And then also we booked a place called Meggiano's, which is phenomenal. 4 hours, we got our own room, incredible food, and we had unlimited drinks for everyone. And everyone had a great time. It was amazing. Tonya was there. Chris is there as well, and BZ. So got to meet some really cool people, and lots of Megan's friends came as well. And so it was like, all of that cost so much less and was so little effort. Yeah. And it was probably the same as, thousands of other people having weddings in the same day. But I'm like, if everyone's having the same wedding anyway, I might as well not spend 2 bunches of 10 grand. It costs more to have a wedding than the deposit on my house was. Yeah. And we barely afforded that. So I can't talk about how great it is enough.
Yeah, it's wild. As you say, you go to a wedding and they are, the basic gist of all of them are the same. So, some people do like a few weird things here and there, but the gist of it is the same. And that's where so much of the stress comes from, because everyone is looking at the tiny details to make sure it's perfect. And that's where all the stress is from. So if you do something completely different, you remove that stress because it's completely different. So you're not thinking about the tiny details because you're not worried about that. You're not worried about, exactly where the placements are of these things on the table, or where that is, or what the colours are on. Is Auntie Sharon going to wear something stupid? So you have to make sure that you have some sort of rules for what people wear. Is she going to come in that dress made of bacon or whatever the hell it was?
Lady Gaga. That's what you call her.
So if you do something completely different, it just removes so much stress. And it is a wedding machine, and it sounds like why would you want to do that? But you can make the rest of it what you want it to be, rather than doing it because you feel like you have to. So you can do your wedding, you can go to the Mob Museum. You can do your wedding, you can go to the buffet. You can do your wedding, you just hit the casino floor. You can do your wedding, you get a helicopter ride down to the Grand Canyon as your sort of after party. You could do anything that you wanted to because the rules have been turned off. And we knew where we wanted to get married because we've stayed in a hotel before. We liked it. And, it's a castle. Okay, it's a very fake castle, but it's a castle. We did the buffet there because it's downstairs. In fact, was it there? Yeah, it was there. We went to New York afterwards because they've got the 9 Fine Irishman bar. So we had to hit there. Lots of free drinks. Then we went back for the buffet, paid for the drinks there. No one wanted them because they were already drunk. Lots of food. So we organised pretty much everything with a 20-minute sit down, a few emails, and then 10 minutes when we arrived. Outside of you have to get registered a few days beforehand, and you have to get it, sort of signed off.
Like, we got a taxi to the register place, got in a line, did it, came back. Within 1 hour of leaving the hotel and getting back, we had like the official marriage documentation.
Yeah. It's so easy to do. And it means you can do whatever you want with the rest of it, with the rest of your time and the rest of your money. Frankly, even if you didn't want to do anything else with that rest of your money and actually save it and buy a house.
Yeah, I think it's the difference of, because Megan and I always said we wanted to be married to each other, but we're not fussed about getting married. Yeah. I think that's the big thing. And I think it's more often, but not always, more often conventionally the woman of a heterosexual couple who is more fussed about the wedding day itself. I think that is changing. I'm getting a lot more people are not as fussed, but there are a lot of people where it's, as you say, it's the competition almost, where it's like, is this wedding going to be better than that wedding? And is the ceremony going to be this? Is that going to have that? What kind of wine you're going to have? Blah, blah. We didn't care about that. But the thing is as well, what I didn't expect was I knew because we got married in the little Vegas chapel. And so they literally have a wedding. It's almost like an hour slot that you get. And they've got, I think they have 2 rooms. And it's just a slightly smaller room and a slightly bigger room. And there's a wedding photographer there, and they take some photos. There's a few like packages, options, or whatever. But like, I thought it was, before getting there, I was thinking, the wedding day is not going to be that, the wedding itself isn't going to be that special. It's not going to feel very wedding-y because it's, a Vegas wedding. But that's not the important thing. But actually, once you get in there, it felt as wedding-y as any other wedding I've ever been at. Because realistically, it's 2 people looking awesome with their nearest and dearest, walking down the aisle, saying some lovey stuff to each other, putting rings on, someone saying some legal stuff, they kiss, and that's the end. And like, that's a real, I'm being very glib, but the actual ceremony of a wedding, unless it's a specifically religious wedding, a Western, either secular or like loosely Christian wedding, they're all pretty much the same thing. And when you're in the moment, like of my wedding day itself, I have little snippets, but because it was, even on that day, it was stressful to a degree because I, just trying to make sure people were there and stuff. But like the stress levels were way lower than I thought. And my brain just kind of filtered most of it out. So I just have like vague-ish memories of that day, but everything surrounding that day, the days leading up to it, the days after, and obviously we had quite a big trip. It's just purely good memories. Yeah. And I know there's quite a few people I know who are, our sort of ages who they've either had a wedding and they've had a divorce, which is, unfortunately, it can happen. And, I wasn't going into marrying Megan thinking I'm going to get divorced, but spending 20 grand plus, some people spend loads more than that. To get divorced on that's a big gamble. No Vegas pun intended. But it's also just the special part of it. So many people I know put so much pressure on themselves for the wedding, and a lot of them, they don't really enjoy the day. And I found when I had the wedding party, the whole point of that was kind of the ceremony's in Vegas, but the reception is in the UK. So everyone, all our friends and family that we actually want there can have that. But like the wedding party thing, it was great fun. It was great seeing you and a lot of the Comics in Motion lot there and the extended podcasting family. But I didn't talk to anyone for more than a minute. Yeah. Because everyone wants your attention because your wedding day. So I talked to Megan, I barely drank anything that day, like as alcohol wise, barely. I think I had 4 drinks over the whole evening. It was like 1 hour. And I ate loads of Dominoes at one point. So I genuinely wasn't drunk at all. I could have driven home, but I obviously didn't. But I found that the evening was good fun. I've got some cool vague memories of it. But if that was my whole day, and I've spoken to people who have been like, yeah, I think the wedding day was great. I remember goodness. But a lot of it was like a whirlwind. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. It's, the wedding day, they remember snippets of it. It's, you're running around. There's a lot of, you have to be here at this time and then do this, and then you're moving to this bit for that section. And yeah, a lot of people say they only remember bits and pieces. They remember the vibe. They remember they had a good time. But if you ask them to sort of run through everything that happened that day, they'll kind of probably run you through the plan that they previously had, but they wouldn't like do it from memory of the actual day. They'd do it from the timetable that they had. And yeah, why subject yourself to so much stress and money, which will then cause stress afterwards and beforehand? If you're saving up all that, like you said, you have to put so much aside to get that sort of money together. So why put yourself through potentially a year or 2 of stress if you're not going to remember it? As you say, like some people, they want their big day, and power to your elbow, you go for it. Like, if that's what you want, then you do that. But if you're umming and erring about it and you're not that bothered, then why put yourself through the stress? Like, honestly, anyone out there who is thinking about it, do what you want to do. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters. And if people are there or not, they'll get over it. Like, even Auntie Sharon in her bacon suit, like, it doesn't matter if she's going to spend the next 6 months getting pissed off by it. Like, she'll either get over it or she won't. And if she's not going to, then you're probably going to do something else to piss her off anyway. So why worry? Just do what you want to do. And getting married in Vegas is great.
It's so fun. It's so easy and so fun. And it's so nice good. And it's quick enough as well, I found. I was worried about it dragging in air quotes. But I also found with it, it was surprisingly fun, but I wonder, I had another point which completely evaporated from my brain, but with you going to Vegas before a couple times, did you, because we'd never been, Megan had been to Vegas before, because she went to America for a month by herself right early on when we were together. We'd been dating, I'd met her, and within 3 or 4 weeks, she was off to America for a month. And so she went to Vegas by herself for a bit. I think she was with a couple of people for a couple of days, and then she was by herself for a few days. So she'd been before, but obviously Vegas by yourself is a very different experience than with people. Yes. What did you actually enjoy about Vegas out of interest? I know Chris Phelps is the Comics in Motion poster child for Vegas.
Yes, he loves it.
Tattoos and everything. But what did you like about Vegas to make you not only revisit after going there the first time, but also then want to actually get married in there, outside of the things we've already mentioned?
I think with Vegas, you can make of it what you want. Like, it is a bit tacky, it is a bit fake, it is a bit whatever, but you can make of it what you want. There are so many shows there. If you're a person who likes to see a show, millions of shows, and
exclusive as well. Like, you can't find them anywhere else.
Yeah. If you're a foodie person, you're spoilt for choice. If you're a culture person, it is there. Like, people say America, why go to America for the culture? It's a different type of culture. Like, you're not going to Rome. I get it. But it's a different type of culture, and it is there. And if you look for it, like we did, I think I sent you the link, walking tours. The guy who used to be cultural advisor to the mayor, he was part of the Neon Museum. Like, he's done loads of stuff.
We did go to the Neon Lights Museum. Loved that.
Yeah. It's amazing. And, so we did that, and he takes you around and he shows you the history of the place, and he knows everyone. So, we just went into the bar, and it was downtown. I can't remember what casino it was, but, the owner of the casino just happened to walk past, and he just came over, shook his hand, said hi to everyone, and walked off again. It's like, that's the multi-million-dollar owner of this casino, and he's just come and said hello just because he knows this guy. There's the Mob Museum. There's plenty of museums.
Megan loved that. She went there the first time. She said how great the Mob Museum was. She did a little bit of gambling on a slot machine or something. Won $50, and then just used that just to buy herself an entry to the Mob Museum and some lunch or something.
Nice. I like it. You can make of it what you want. You can just go shopping. You can go sit by the pool if you want. Okay, it's not a beach if you like beach holidays, but otherwise, you can mostly make of it what you want to do. And if you wake up one morning and say, actually, I'm in the mood for this, it's probably there.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Go for it. And food's a bit expensive compared to what we're used to here. But otherwise, the costs for most things are pretty good. So go for it. You can just do whatever the hell you fancy over there, and no one cares as well.
Yeah, there's the attitude there is so weird where it's you can literally do anything, and it's kind of, I thought I would feel unsafe there. But I felt the only place in America I felt unsafe was Florida outside of Disney. There was just a very odd vibe, especially in certain places and walking past certain people when you can see their guns, and you're like, I'm going to tuck my Pride bee that's connected to my wallet just into my pocket for a while, because I stick to my beliefs. I'm not really willing to get into an altercation over them in that regard. But in Vegas, I was conscious. I was everyone here could have a gun, but because it's so everything, I didn't really think about it till I left. But I feel because it's so everything, I feel it all just kind of balances itself out. in a way, I don't know if you thought that at all, but I don't know if you ever had any fear of America in any way, but I'm always scary about someone with a gun wanting to shoot me.
No, I mean, I've been to America quite a few times. I've been all over the place. I've never had that feeling that I can think of. Like we did a school trip to New York.
Wow.
I must have been, it was secondary school, but sort of early on in secondary school. How they got away with it, I have no idea. I mean, this must have been just after they cleaned New York up. This is like 20-something years ago, which makes me feel very old.
I'm pretty much, I'm not much younger than you are, to be honest. So,
even then, I don't remember feeling unsafe. There was a weird moment in Vegas. I think it was the trip before we got married. We were walking down towards the Hard Rock, I think.
Yeah,
I think it's the Hard Rock
from Excalibur.
Yeah, when it goes down towards the university.
Yeah.
That was the first time we saw someone carrying a gun that wasn't a policeman. And that was a bit of but it was always a moment as well of, actually that's the first person we've seen in Vegas openly carrying a gun, other than law enforcement. And that was weird because it was a very quiet street, and then suddenly you're just walking past this guy with a gun on his hip. Like, hello, we're going to walk a little bit faster now. No offence to you.
Zigzag.
We're British, don't you know?
Even our police officers don't have guns. So
no, exactly.
The odd armed person in an airport and a couple in like London. But it's really more SWAT guys we see with guns, not regular police officers.
No. You're lucky if they've got a taser. So I never had the feeling of being unsafe anywhere, even like in parts of downtown where, like the first time that I went, hadn't quite reached, the same levels as most of downtown where they've tidied it up a bit. I can't say I ever felt unsafe. I don't think I have in America, but then I know other people do, but just because of sensibilities. I mean, I live in London. So I do, I've been up in town before. I've been up in town where there's been protests, and I'm like, hello, what's going on here? So people have different ideas of what's safe or not. I live not far from Croydon and Brixton, which have like terrible reputations, but I'd quite happily walk through there because, they are pretty safe, but the reputation precedes them.
I think it's like statistical things. I mean, I'm in Southampton, and Southampton statistically is one of the most dangerous cities in the UK. But a lot of that is because when they say dangerous, it's because we have one of the highest amounts of grand theft auto, so car-related, normally car-related thefts or damage, and also drug-related crimes. But it's because we're one of the biggest docks in not only in the UK, but I think we're one of the biggest dogs in Europe. So it's like, of course
dogs.
There's going to be...
He said
not dogs. No, we don't have the biggest dogs in the world, I'm afraid.
Or dicks.
No, but, Titanic obviously sailed from us, which is a great thing to talk about. It's Titanic. What happened to that? Don't ask. It's not about ice. We have like one of the biggest docks. And so with that, there's going to be a lot of car theft, because all you do is you get a car, you move it onto a ship, you change a couple of things of it and put it somewhere else, and then you have to worry about it. Obviously, it has to go to another country that drives on the left. And also with drugs, it's like we're at a dock. It's the main way to get things in and out of the country. Yeah. Most of the drugs in the UK aren't necessarily made in the UK. Except oddly enough, cannabis. We're the biggest exporter of cannabis in the world.
Yeah,
which is so weird.
Mind you, I've spent some time working with energy companies, and I can well believe that. The things I have seen.
Yeah, there's a lot.
The buildings I have walked into and got very high just from walking into them.
Yeah, I mean, I deal with insurance, and I've had a few claims. I had one in Southampton where a flat burnt down, and that was because it was cannabis cultivation. The tenants had overclocked all of the circuitry and stuff, and it caused a fire, and then it burnt it all down, basically. Yeah. So, and our guy was the landlord. And there's a few other bits and pieces, but I saw in a BBC article, and I was like, what? I was like, who are we exporting to? Mainly Amsterdam. So it's like, so we're growing cannabis in the UK, sending it to Amsterdam, and then flying over there to smoke the cannabis that our government is growing.
Wait for me.
Yeah. Very bizarre. But it's one of those where we're quite a dangerous city because of that. And there's the occasional, like once every couple of years, you'll hear about someone get stabbed outside of a park or something. But it's like, that's obviously unpleasant and scary. And there is obviously sexual assault occurs because that's unfortunately life. But I don't feel unsafe. I wouldn't walk in certain parks at 3 a.m. I wouldn't walk by myself through that. Even though I could probably take care of myself as long as there wasn't a group of people after me, I generally wouldn't do that. But there's a lot of places that are very well lit. There's a lot of areas that are slightly less dodgy. And I've spent a fair amount of time in London. And Meg and I, we love to walk. Obviously getting the tube is great, but sometimes we just fancy a walk. And there's been times we've walked through a place and we're like, this was not the best idea. I don't feel like I'm going to get attacked, but it's more, if I did, no one is around at all. And I think that's and I think also when you're in an unfamiliar place, it's more, in Southampton, if something happened, I've been in here like my entire life, so there's not really anywhere you could drop me. And after walking for 5 minutes, there's nowhere I would be lost. But in London, for example, I don't feel unsafe in London, but it's so massive and I don't know everywhere in London. I know certain places quite well. Drop me near the History Museum, I'll be fine. I know my way around the museums, mate. That's my jam. But you put me in Croydon, I don't think I've ever been in Croydon, so I would be completely lost. Yeah. And I think knowing where you are, I think when you're walking in certain unfamiliar places, the danger element is more prominent, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. You have a certain level of planning in your head, even if it's not conscious. Subconsciously, your brain is like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Whereas if you walk into somewhere and you don't know what you're doing, then you are sort of heightened to some degree. Even if you like walk into one of those weird Asdas where the layout's completely different and you just walk in and in 2 minutes' time someone's going to piss you off because you don't know where you are. It's sort of that times 10.
I've never heard anyone say something so British of like how our country is so, for the most part, safe. Yeah. The comparison of danger is an unfamiliar supermarket. Yeah.
But, it's
you're
like,
not wrong. I completely get what you mean.
Like, even you might walk into the same, like if it's Tesco, Asda, whatever, Walmart for Americans, or Target. They have a rough sort of layout. You know roughly where things are, but then you'll go to that one city that has a Tesco or Walmart, and you'll be like, what the fuck have they done here? You have no idea where anything is. And then you're totally confused. Your brain's all over the place. And then someone says something to you, and then you're pissed off, and you feel like all the staff in there are against you. Everyone's looking at you just because you don't know where everything is. But it's just because you're suddenly, your brain is thrown and you don't know what you're doing anymore. Okay, it's a weird metaphor. I'll give you that.
It's like a reverse muscle memory, though. It's almost like driving on the other side of the road in a car. Like everything is really similar, and that makes it more difficult. If you do something completely new, you've got no preconceptions about it. But you do something that's really similar, but tiny things are different. You're like, the pattern recognition of my brain doesn't work.
I think that is true of America as well. It's similar enough, but also not. It's like take Britain, but put it in a slightly parallel dimension where you recognise things, but they're not quite right. Even like you walk past a building site and they're builders, but they're builders in weird uniforms. They're not just in a high-vis. They're in that particular high-vis that Americans wear. It's like, I don't understand the difference. Why are they wearing that? But also, it makes sense. Like, it's fine, whatever. But it's just not quite right. You're thinking, there's something weird about you. I get you're a builder, but there's something weird about you. And I'm sure Americans get it the same as well. They look past, I mean, God knows what Americans think when they walk past our building sites. But
where is everyone? Why is there no work? So that building site's been like that for about 5 years, mate.
yeah, there is that.
Shout out to all the tradies. I love you all, but there's a weird vacancy of construction sites everywhere. And I don't know why companies keep opening up building sites. And then it's not like they've been abandoned, because progress does seem to happen.
Yeah. It's like occasionally they get someone in just to do a little bit something.
It's like a fair weather fair weather worker almost.
Yeah.
When I feel like it. It's like I was trying to read a book. It's like, let's go crack out. There's a house right near me, actually. So anyone in Southampton will know. It's near Sholing, not far from Sholing Video, which is a great little place. There's a house on the corner in sort of the Sholing Triangle, and it has genuinely been being built since I used to walk to school. But I think it's basically done now, but there's a bit of scaffolding still up, and it was built from like nothing. But clearly someone bought the land and started building, but must have either not had enough money or just every month put something in a pot and then once a year pays the builders a certain amount to do stuff. But genuinely 15 years ago, they started building the house, and it's only just, I think, now done to be livable. Wow. It's just a funny anecdote. But I did want to ask talk about weirdness in America, and please continue with your strange metaphors because they're great fun. What in America did you really like? What parts of America have you been to, and what did you like there? You know, outside of Vegas, obviously, and have you been back to New York? Like, what's made you go back to America? Do you have any favorite kind of spots or things about it?
So I've done Vegas 3 times now. I've been to Washington, D.C., Philadelphia once, Boston once, New York 3 or 4 times, maybe 4 times now over the course of my life. I think that's it.
It's still quite a lot.
Yeah, I feel like I'm missing one.
There's a lot of places. I can't name all 50 states, I'm afraid.
Why not? I want you to name every city in America.
I couldn't name every...
To remind me.
I couldn't name every city in the UK. I couldn't even name the provinces or in the UK or the counties.
The shires. Yeah, I'm sure I'm missing one, but I can't think what it is. I do love America, and I don't know, I think it is partly that uncanny valley. I think it's the fact that it is so similar but just slightly different. It lets it's kind of opposite of what we were just saying, weirdly. It kind of, your brain relaxes to a certain point and you just kind of switch off, which I know is completely opposite to what we were just saying. I guess so it doesn't make any sense at all.
It's almost like pre-comfort. You just kind of get there, and because I think everyone speaks relatively the same language, and there's not that cultural barrier, and because we're exposed to so much American culture, I think Americans feel weirder coming to the UK than we feel going over there. I think over there, really, the only thing I have is just, I'm scared that most people could have a gun. Fortunately, it's more driving, because when I was driving over there, because we did hire a car for a bit, I was just thinking, I can't hit anyone, because if I hit someone, especially in Florida, in this car, and they get out and start shouting at me or something, I will become like a weenie little child because I'm so scared they're going to pull a gun out on me. In England, I don't have road rage, but I'm not worried some yob is going to kill me. He might try and thump me one if I get really mouthy, which I generally wouldn't do, but I'm not scared for my life. I think aside from that minor thing, really, I'm not fearful of America. And I think it is just kind of that ease of, you know, apart from the odd word that is completely non-existent over there, or theirs is completely different. I think it is like, it's almost pre-comfort. You're almost at ease a little bit, just sooner, easier to adjust. Yeah.
I guess it's the same reason that people go to Spain, but go to the places that are full of Brits. I think it's that same thing. It's like a level of comfort, but also just that little bit different that you can relax. Like there's no expectations. And I think maybe that's where it ties into what we were saying before. Like you're slightly outside of the norm, so it doesn't take much to set off that expectation. Whereas if you're just walking the streets normally, you do have a level of comfort, and there is no expectation because you're not at home, so you don't have all the things that you need to do. But then as soon as you see something that triggers that little thing in your mind, the expectations start kicking off. Like you see the person walking down the road with a gun, or you see Billy Bob with his Confederate flag in his pickup driving past, and you're suddenly like, I'm not crashing into him. I know that was very stereotypical. I apologize, America.
Well, it's true. I mean, over here, to be honest, if you walk past someone and they have certain stickers on their car, or if they're flying not a UK flag, if they're flying a St. George's flag, you go, okay, you're clearly very patriotic about England, but probably more patriotic about what you think England is rather than what it actually is.
Pass if it's like the World Cup, then we'll let you off.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of that, I want to ask you a bit about Ireland, actually.